So I just saw some of them scrambling for help on that video last night. It was a horrible one. So let's see what the police can do about this.
Ondo Assembly declares Ayedatiwa acting governor. The story is on page 11. NLC rejects proposed plan to restructure TCN, says it portends great danger. The story is on page 5. And there's all from the Nigerian Tribune.
I have with me here the Punch newspaper, and the headlines for this morning are another side of the story, which is the main headline. It's Rivers demolishes assembly. Pro-Fubara speaker declares defector seats vacant. Government justifies assembly demolition. Says complex not suitable for legislative business. PDP directing IPPIS. ASU hails federal government as fair, removes varsities orders. I think the lecturers, this will actually reduce the strike they usually embark on, seeing that their demand is now being met up bit by bit. So it will reduce the time, to reduce the number of strikes we have in the universities and the rest. You can read that story on page 12. Gunmen kill woman, abduct 7 on Lagos-Ibadan expressway. Another insecurity at that. You can read that story on pages 4 and 5. And then NNPCL not transparent on subsidy, dollar revenues by World Bank. You can read that story on page 19. Kaduna bombing. Military raises 8-man panel. Villagers disown. That's 3 billion naira suits. You know, this is actually no amount of money can buy the lives that have gone or the damage that has been done. So I can understand when they reject whatever has been given to them. And thank God they have set up a panel to look into the situation. It's a good thing. And I pray that justice will be served and lives lost, something will be sorted out for that. We can read that story on page 8. NLC rejects TCN privatization, demands policy reversal. You can read that story on page 13. And the picture story is on the River State House of Assembly complex, demolished for renovation in Port Harcourt on Wednesday. That's all from the Punch newspaper this morning. All right, John.
All right, I have Vanguard with me this morning. Headline news says, poor Nigerians eat 104 million, says World Bank. Asks NNPC to publish account, revenue flow. NNPC earnings under scrutiny, that is by Edo, highs Nigerians holding large FX in domiciliary accounts. Industry Minister counters World Bank on power subsidy on page 7 of Vanguard. And on page 11, 2024, Lagos, Borno, Rivers proposed 3.387 trillion naira budget. On page 13, Ondo crisis, Ayedatiwa resumes as acting governor. And on page 11 as well, Ohaneze, IPOB begged Tinubu to free Kanu. And I think that the Kanu case has been long overdue. It needs to be reviewed, and whatever the government want to conclude, it should be concluded on time, so that the man will know his fate, and then the people can resolve and have peace of mind. That story is on page 11 of Vanguard. Now, CBN blames scarcity of banknotes on hoarding on page 19. So there is hoarding. Why are people hoarding, or why are bankers hoarding notes, the Naira notes? We wouldn't have any answer to that, but I think there should be directives so that this is festive period, and then there is, we know there is a lot of scarcity because of the inflation, the prices hike, and yet there will be a Naira, there will be cash crunch that will really affect the masses and the season a lot. So please, they should do something to that. All right, let's move on to River crisis. State government demolishes assembly complex. That's all over the news on page 5 of Vanguard as well. So we look, I'll pick some other story from here. We already read that of the sack of the fan Nama, NCIB, Nimet and Digits that were sacked and being replaced as well. So on page 16, Olufason, but leaving aside Nigeria's mushrooming presence, what pledges did Tinubu's government make at COP28? What pledges? So if you grab a copy of Vanguard, page 18, you can follow up on that story. And on sports, on page 28, CAF Award. It's a wake-up call for more investment in sports, says Senate. That would be a very good move if the Senate could make a move that there should be more investment on Nigerian sports. It is long overdue. Sport needs to be looked into, especially the grassroots, for better development because of the future purposes and for appearances in world-class events.
The question is, sorry to exempt you, the question is the funds that have been given to them so far over the years, what have they used them for?
Oh.
We hear of countries in the North Africa countries having this grassroots sports project and all of that. The subvention they get from FIFA, they use them to get all this project up, and even the money they get from their government. We see the development there. So the investment that have been put there so far, what has been used, what has been done with that investment, and if coming for asking for more investment, what will the accountability for those funds? That is the problem we are having.
Let's see what they will be done from this angle Senate is coming up from. And lastly, from Mr. and Mrs. Says people says both of you. They said people saw both of you rather. They said you gave her 10,000 as you were mounting the stairs to her flat, and that you later come down to meet her. And the man replied, says, look, my philosophy is to be kind to people I meet on my way up. I may meet them on my way down. All right. That is from Mr. and Mrs.
All right, thank you for that. Moving on to the next segment, which is the wisdom segment by the wise old man, Pastor Solomon. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, my children. Welcome to Thursday. We give God the glory, for making us to see a brand new Thursday. Today is 40. Glory be. Pay the Lord. You see, we thank God. My name is Pastor Solomon. In case you are watching me for the first time, and the Bible is my watchword. Today is Thursday. The word of wisdom I have for you today, my children and all my viewers, all lovers of Pastor Solomon. Today, Thursday morning, every champion was once a contender that refused to give up. Every champion was once a contender that refused to give up. That is the word of wisdom that I have for you today. Every champion you see, they were once a contender that refused to give up. Yes, even as a wrestler, when you are a champion, either you are a sport person, when you are a champion, it means you contended with some people and you refuse to give up. That is how you become a champion. You cannot become a champion by giving up. I have never seen a champion before that gave up. Because once you give up, you can never be a champion. Every champion, they were once a contender that refused to give up. You cannot win by giving up. You cannot achieve anything by giving up. You see? You want to give up your marriage because of what you are encountering. Oh, you see, if you leave your marriage and you enter another one, what do you know you are going to face there? You want to leave your husband, you want to leave your wife, or you want to even leave your job because the salary is too small. Have you find another one? You see? Do you know what they call hunger? You see? What am I saying? You want to become a champion. You want to become an achiever. You want to become a, how will I put it? You want to become CEO. You want to become a champion, a chairman, a manager. And you are facing some crises, you are facing some challenges. All you could say is that you want to give up. You can never become a champion. A champion does not give up. A champion don't give up. So I don't know what you are going through right now and you feel like giving up. I don't know what you are facing and you feel like giving up. I am advising you this morning, don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. I don't know who I'm talking to, but I know that someone is watching me that wanted to give up before. But you cannot become a champion by giving up. Oh. Yeah, you're only complicating matter. So don't give up your marriage. Don't give up on that child. Don't give up on that business. Don't give up on that friend. Don't give up. Don't give up on that job. That your ministry, don't give up. There are a lot of things that you encounter in your ministry, but don't give up. You will become a champion by the grace of God. That is the word of wisdom I have for you today, Thursday. Tomorrow is another day we shall see so. I remember Solomon and the Bible is my watchword. Till tomorrow. Bye.
All right, thank you, Pastor Lou, for that wise advice for this morning. All right, to the main discussion of today, I would like to read this from the Punch newspaper. It says, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, sometimes in November, said it will end the importation of refined petroleum products by December 2024, as all the country's refineries will be operational by then. And today we'll be talking about economic benefits of ending fuel importation. And we have in the house a wonderful guest, Mr. Olusegun Okwade. He's a policy and public affairs analyst. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, Tolu. Good morning,
Good morning,
my brother and sister Jeffet and
morning,
Elizabeth. And good morning to all our viewers this morning.
Yeah, welcome,
Great to be back after a short break.
Yes. Good to have you join us.
Yeah, thank
to have
you.
you back again.
Yeah.
All right. When I saw the news, I won't want you to know I want to get your own reaction.
Okay.
So I don't want to say my own reaction. Please, when you saw this or when you heard it, are you optimistic about it? What was your reaction?
Okay. Well, things about the country, I'm very optimistic because that's the reason why I've not Japa. You know, as many that are Japaing, the issue is they are not having confidence in the country. But be it as it may, we've seen our leaders failed us with a lot of promises. I'm still counting days. Today is 14th. And in the next 17 days, we'll come to the end of this year, 2023, by God's grace. And one of the promises of the president is to make sure that we have the Warri refinery come on board, at least
This
one.
December.
So, but we cannot see anything, even though the thing is still being kept away from us. But some of us analysts that they know, we are taking time. And if you keep information away from us, we'll remind you and we'll play back. You see, the beauty of those things these days is that compared to 1874/1923, when you can do something and forget that you've actually said this. These days, I'm sure what I discussed last week, if it's against what I'm saying today, somebody will play it and possibly get on the X to say, Sheson, this was whatever. So we're going to play the video to our president because as I speak to you, we are not having any updates on the functionality of that refinery. And it's part of what we keep saying, that you can't keep information away from the citizen and you don't expect them to react. So coming up with NNPC telling us the old refinery will come and will stop importation by 2024 December. Well, we watch and see. You see, they've actually pushed us to the level that when they speak, you don't doubt them until when you get to that date. Because if you start doubting them, it looks as if you are not having confidence in your leaders. And for people like us, we are not taught that way, not to have confidence in them. You build the confidence when they disappoint you. As younger generation, then you know, failing you has stripped them of the respect that they deserve as as a leader, because part of the quality of leadership is sticking by your words. You would have actually do your due diligence to know that this information I'm giving, you see, the younger generation we have these days, not like us, where you are afraid to talk to elders.
Don't ask questions.
As a matter of fact, these days, a child 10 years old, we asked a man of 70 years, that grandpa, that thing you said, and you'll be asking, your father cannot talk to me like that. That's my father and not me. That's the generation where we are. The Gen Z. In fact, I learned they are moving away from Gen Z. We used to have the internet savvy group, now to Gen Z. Another generation are coming up, and they made bold to ask you questions without any reservation. So it calls on our leaders, before you put anything in the space, this is not the era where you just say something and go to bed to sleep. Like when we're watching, you can give a time. The time will come. When the president said by December 2023, one of the refinery will, become functionary, it's like you are giving like 6 months, date.
Yes.
Here comes, we are in December.
December 2024.
Today is 14, 17 days to go. So by 1st of January, when some of us will be listening to the presidential address, we want to hear the next story. And that's where the trust deficit, you start building it up. So if you come 31st December and you're coming to give us an excuse, so you have created another excuse for the December 2024. And if somebody is reacting to it, it's not about that person. It's about your failure. Because what we've expected is that there'll be like a traction of the progress on that particular refinery, so that we can follow and say, oh, no, they've tried, we are at 85%. These are certain things that is actually limiting the deliverable. Until, you see, some of us have said it, until we start running this nation like running a private business. You have your KPI. You don't come here and tell your employer that you are going to do certain, production in the last few days, and that day is coming, and you are just keeping quiet. If they have not mobilized you, it's a time to raise your voice and say, okay, well, based on this is unable to be delivered because you're supposed to mobilize for this particular period. I have not been mobilized, and this is where I am. If I get the mobilization, I'm having an extension of a few days. That's when you can have confidence in them. But as we speak, maybe with our discussion today, we can have a position from the president tomorrow to say, okay, this is the position of things. But we wait till 31st. People like me, I'm not hasting in condemning leadership because I've been there. But it's good you update the citizen on the development of things, and that on its own will restore confidence in saying, oh, even when he gives his time and he fails, we know the reason. Don't just come and give us blank reason. We know the reason, we understand the reason, and we can buy into it and give him some little time. So for me, I'm optimistic. I will continue to be optimistic irrespective of what is happening in the country, because that's where I am today. Possibly if I get relocation, not by me, maybe in US, the president is inviting me. I know that I'm on secondment from the country to that country. But as we speak, not that I will gather my resources and say I want to relocate. So we'll believe in them and continue to speak like we're doing to make sure that things go the normal way. I will continue to say it. The country is blessed. All we need is to have the right set of leaders to give the direction, and the followers will definitely enjoy the benefit of democracy.
Please, let me ask this question. You mentioned reason earlier. What do you think might be some of their reasons that affected, having this refinery functioning even as at December 2023?
Tolu, is a tall question because as we speak, majority of us are in the dark of information, and I'm not in oil and gas sector to actually have an input. And aside that, this has to do with the government. There should be like a communication flow from them that will be able to guide us to say, okay, possibly because of deficit in our revenue, because we are aware that there was appropriation. And I think that the thing that will give you revenue should be of priority. But most of the time, we major in minor and minor in major. It's a problem. A lot of money was actually given to buy, SUVs for our leaders and those. I was reading in the paper yesterday where we were told that Jakarta require about 35 billion, to get it functional, which will generate revenue for you and reduce level of importation. But we are unable to make provision for that in the appropriation. Rather, we have over 400 and something. So it's an order of priority. It's not that there is no money. When people complain that this country is suffering from unavailability of funds, I smile. Because when you look at the level of wastages and what we prioritize some of those income on, it's like somebody who has not eaten but prefer to go and buy fuel in his vehicle, and he's not using that vehicle to go and generate revenue, but he wants to go and use it to greet his girlfriend. His priority, provided you get there, that the girlfriend will give you food. So it's our priority. To me, I don't think, because if you are able to raise those industry arm to generate revenue for us, you can imagine, we are owing outside investor when we have the natural resources that we are not developing. Is that not the bottleneck? You can now invite, those days while we were growing up, we heard that the likes of Peugeot and some other companies were actually assembling here because of the access to steel. But now we have new ones coming up. Let's even leave the foreigners. The local one, do they have access to some of this raw material? They import them. And that on its own dollarized everything that we're doing, putting pressure on dollars. So you can imagine if we're able to set up some of those industries where we produce those things locally. Imagine the steel, being developed here. The vehicles can use it, other things, all these artisans. You minimize the pressure of the, what does this banker call them? What you raise at the bank for dollar exchange. You reduce the pressure on it, and we know that we are domesticating most of the things we're doing. But we'll leave it, and we'll continue to monitor. We'll continue to speak, but it's like our problem is prioritizing the key things rather than what we are experiencing. If you're able to put those things, maybe I'm speaking as a finance person, but the confidence I have is that my president is my senior. He's also a member of my institute. He's a chartered accountant of high repute that did a lot while he was in Mobile. So I'm not speaking out of context to know that you should know the right thing to do. If the subordinates are not doing it right, you should put them in the right perspective, because we need to invest in the right thing so that we have the right deliverable in the shortest possible time.
All right.
Okay, the average Nigerian does not have or does not hold that optimistic attitude that you have. You are speaking from being a leader before, being a leader already, and also an analyst. But if you look at the event leading to this, we know that they have said this a whole lot, and they have failed us. I know Jonathan said, former President Goodluck Jonathan said in 2012 that if in 10 years' time we are still importing fuel, then there's something wrong with us. He left. President Buhari came with the same agenda. This is what we are going to do. We are going to end it by so time. A lot of them, even the Minister of Petroleum, and a lot of them coming to saying this thing all over and all over again. And this have actually made the average Nigerian say, no, these people know what they are doing. Like they say in this part of the world, handicap. They carry us handicap. That's what they are doing, and they are doing it intentionally, that we should just not believe in what they just said now.
Jeff, I will say this, that you are very much correct. An average Nigerian will tell you that, Sheson, your view At times, I don't know whether you are staying in the blues. But I have this to say, possibly because of my background. I try as much as possible to be positive about things because that will take you on a safe landing. You see, when you have that pessimistic nature, it affects you as an individual. Let me put that straight. You will be emaciating and you won't know because everything you are saying is negative. And I try to build that in some of my mentees because there's every reason for you not to have confidence in this nation. Every reason across board. But you know you are doing yourself more harm because that leader is enjoying himself. Despite that we are actually being impoverished and poverty is, you read in one of the dailies saying that we've now hit about 104 million
Yes.
in poverty. And the same set of people, you saw what the Senate president displayed for his 61st birthday.
Yes, when
When he went to the stadium. I'm sure you know the amount of money that will be there. You know the amount of money that was invested in the SUV given to them. Those are the ones that we can see. I'm sure now, you know, there's a prayer that goes into their account. Now, money don't go to their account. They get prayer that goes. I don't know the kind of prayer that they will be receiving. I too have been waiting, at least to have a prayer sent into my email address, you know, like a day like this, because it's end of the year. It's to tell you how insensitive they are. But we must not discourage an average citizen, because I can tell you day by day, people are entering this depression. And it's about time, you see, you will not see a pastor come to the altar and discourage his members or his followers. Irrespective of what we are faced with today, we prayed for them, we voted for them, and there is nothing hidden under the cloud that God do not know about. There might be something God wants to pass across. They have failed us, we all know. It's not that I speaking do not know that those failures were there, right from the time of Baba Obasanjo to Jonathan. Those promises are there. But part of the things I will always tell individuals, what can you make of their generation after they have passed? People that are nobody becomes relevant because of the confidence they have in the nation. And that's what we try to mentor the youths on these days. The kind of people, I'm sure, pardon me, it's not an advert, but floater waves. These are young guys of nobody. I'm sure you know they are of nobody. But they believed in themselves. In fact, they struggled to go to school. But they believed in themselves, developed themselves. And today, they are fucking, billionaires that you can talk about. So you employing a lot of people. So we should not look at what our leaders are doing. Because the leaders of today was one time followers in this country.
Yes.
We must imbibe the right culture into them. Therefore, the truth of it is that they have failed us. We know that categorically. But how much of it? You see, it's from head to toe. You are talking of the federal government. What are the states doing? Go to the local government. Go to the CDAs. Go to the CDCs. Go to even religious houses. That endemic that we have in our system, corruption, and that thing is born out of greed. Until we understand the position that I cannot drive 2 cars at the same time.
Exactly.
You can have 10 convoys following you. What are you protecting when you have fleets of cars and policemen, guiding you?
Okay, sir. Sorry to preempt you because of our time, because we have a whole lot. Before we actually delve into the economic benefit of this, ending this fuel importation, I want to quickly read this research that came out to say Nigeria has have imported more than 5.52 billion liters of petroleum motor spirits, popularly called petrol, since the removal of subsidy on May 30th. So I'm trying to bring this in before we go into the benefit. This first subsidy removal is it a mirage? Like there's nothing like removing of first subsidy, because if we are still importing 5.52 billion liters, and that since May
and December,
and December, where is the place of first subsidy in this? Then before we get into the economic benefit of the removal of this fuel importation.
Yeah, they've removed subsidy but we are not producing, so you are bound to import. Otherwise, you create a bottleneck of scarcity, and that on its own will jack up the price. So as we are, what is the cost? You see, we keep saying it, the transparency is really not too known to us. But we want to assume and believe that the cost of importation when they came in May and now is still the same. But the number will keep increasing because we are not producing locally. Maybe if by 31st we have one of the refinery functioning, we can reduce the number, and we read, I have not seen, because I've tried to call some of my guys, that we now have supply to Dangote refinery to start producing. Maybe if you consolidate those two together, by the time we'll be talking of figures in first quarter, that should reduce the level of importation we will be getting from there. But we need to continue to import because we are not producing currently. And, this issue is demand and supply. There is demand for PMX. As I was coming this morning, I could not go through the main road because normally I go through Ogudu to go and turn. So when I got to after toll gate, I had to descend and come in through K2 to be here. Otherwise, 1 hour. And I'm sure I overheard saying we now have bombs at Alakbere that is building up the traffic. Part of the issues I have there is that the cost of fuel is on the high side. Now I'm spending more in the traffic to get to where I'm going. At times you ask yourself the question, how do we balance this? I know what they are trying to do is because of the collapse of the bridge at Alakbere that is creating this problem. But I can tell you that traffic has built beyond toll gate as at this morning when I was coming. And that on its own will impact on service delivery of the citizen, going to their work. So somebody using 10 liters of fuel to get to Island, and just manage himself as we speak would have increased because that traffic is not smiling. When I drove in, my driver was saying, Oga, thank God you changed my mind to follow K2. I said, no, you would have carried the vehicle because I must be at the interview session. And I've left my own early enough to be here as at the time I used. So the situation of things at hand, we'll continue to import. The subsidy is not a mirage. What we are actually asking for is that they gave us a snippet of what it looks like for the first 2 months when we were told that about 1 trillion has actually been saved with the subsidy. So I'm thinking if for 2 months we're able to save 1 trillion, the last 6 months, if my arithmetics do not fail me, we should be talking about 3 to 5 trillion. We're not talking a billion now, trillion. Saved, which I expect you augment for. But some of these questions we are still going to be asking them, putting them on their toes. That don't just give information out without actually substantiating it. Because we are not feeling the benefit yet.
Exactly.
1 trillion. So what have you, we understand that we have 1 trillion. What have you invested that particular money on that we can call a project to say, okay, it is the refinery that is actually gulping this savings that average Nigerian is actually doing. It's impacting on we business owners. These days, I don't do the 5 days work because I can't increase the salary of the staff. And I understand the plight that they must come to work, with the salary that they have. So we now work like 2-3 days in a week. But how many organizations can afford that? It's impacting on our deliverables. Because even those days that they don't come to work, they don't attend to me. They look for side hustle to do, even when you put pressure, because they just have to sustain themselves and keep themselves going.
Exactly. Yes, sir. I'm looking at continue from where you just stopped, the removal of fuel subsidy and the importation of fuel into the country. Now, we know that there are some certain amounts that has been gotten since they removed fuel subsidy. Now, looking at removal of fuel subsidy to importation of fuel, is it a disadvantage or an advantage?
No,
sorry, sir.
Okay.
And please, if you can add this, because I'm looking at our time. Let's talk. After that, answering that question, you give us the economic benefit of ending this fuel importation for the average Nigerian, for them to know that yes, it's really, really important for us. Okay,
yeah. To respond to what my sister asked, yeah, it's an advantage. The removal of subsidy is an advantage. Is the efficient management of the funds that you get from it that is actually the problem. Because if you look at it, OPEC nation, we are the only country importing fuel when we are supposed to be producing. So when you remove the subsidy, whatever the cost, you see, it's like when they introduce telecoms, the cost will go up. But over time, when we start making production, you started with maybe 1,000 barrels per day to 2,000. So when you have more supply, you will be self-sufficient, that you'll be able to now export to other neighboring country and generate revenue for yourself. Then you as a nation, you'll be very much comfortable. So removal of subsidy, it's good. The only area we are lacking is to stop the importation, produce locally, so that we can minimize the pressure on foreign exchange. And when you talk about the benefits of actually, ending this issue of fuel importation, I can tell you that it's enormous. First and foremost, it's going to domesticate most of the things that we have. As we speak, a lot of dollars are actually being, put in importing those things.
Yes.
So when you produce it locally, issue of spending dollars will be out of it. 2, employment. It's going to create massive employment out there. If you are producing locally, a lot of filling stations that which are very close to we the citizen that has been shut down. Some people can reinvest into it, and you see like every 2-3 areas where you are buying, because then you have liberalized the system. I'm sure currently some filling stations are selling at 568, some at 570, some at 590, some at 600. So you choose which one you want to patronize. You understand? So if people are coming into the stream, competition will now force some of those things to come and say, even if it is 1 kobo I make on this thing, I think the turnover should be more of paramount to me. So I've spoken about reducing the pressure on foreign exchange, creating employment, and on its own, the citizen will be able to enjoy the natural resources that God has given to us, which we all benefit from. So when you reduce that pressure, you'll be able to invest much more money on health sector, education sector. I still believe it that a time will come, like we have during Awolowo, where you go to UI, you go to OAU. It is the foreigners that were actually lecturing us here. So that's to tell you that we are paying them salary. As what we're doing. We'll still come back to that place. We have that faith in this country because we believe God will restore us. So if we are able to stop the importation, we produce locally, and we are able to invest our money in some of those things, you will see people coming back home. So some of the things we are seeing now is that those that are actually doing the japa is good. It's an investment. Let them go, gather all the knowledge they can gather there. When we are better, that's why some of us are staying back at home. When we regularize the whole thing, we will not give them visa. They will come in because they are citizens and come and deposit some of those knowledge they have acquired to enrich some of the things some of us at home locally have done to make Nigeria better. Nigeria will be great. I have that confidence in this nation because we are blessed. The only thing we are lacking is leadership direction, which I know God himself is at work on it.
All right, you said 3 benefits which are very, very huge. And when you were talking, you talked about the fluctuating price of fuel. Like a lot of filling stations have different prices they sell.
Yeah.
And on the sideline of the Tribune newspaper this morning, the World Bank came out on Wednesday to say that Nigeria's current retail price for petrol is not fully adjusting to market conditions. And they have suggested that we have 750 naira per liter. So what is your take on that? That we should have, it should be
uniform price.
Yeah, uniform price, and should be even higher.
We appreciate the World Bank. This is Nigeria. And we have our own things done in our own way. So if we are buying it at 568, let World Bank lead us. You see, some of these European countries, we understand them. They are not fighting for our own benefit. They are fighting for their pocket. So that when you impoverish us, the more. Our leaders who currently understand that they need to borrow money, will go back to them and borrow money. So the interest, the generation unborn, we have it. We appreciate their advice. Let them still allow us to maintain what we have made. Our government is not complaining. The subsidy they've removed, and there is supply from what the NNPC said. So we are okay with it. Facing that reality, we already know the reality. And I'm sure government is sensitive to that plight, that any attempt to increase it, because currently a lot is actually being used with this petrol. So if you try to increase it again, it's like you are killing more people and putting them into depression. So my reaction to World Bank, we appreciate them greatly. They are big brothers, but we can take our decision ourselves and know the best that is good for us. Our leaders understand better, because if there is need for an increase, I'm sure they would have whet the appetite of the people. To react to what I said, it's competition. Some people are greedy. It's just like women selling all these household consumables. You go to some places, you buy it less than 5 naira,
Yes.
some less than 10 naira. Those things are reality. Nobody is selling below the cost price. I must let you know.
Yes.
But some people just want to make 1 naira and have a lot of turnover and quickly go and buy another one. So when you do that, and which is to us in business, makes more sense. You have more patronage, you have more confidence on the part of your customer, having to say, no, if you go to Toulouse, it's very cheap and you get quality. Tolu will be my marketing manager because I don't need to promote myself. She will be the one to do Japheth. And you say, if you go to this place, you buy. So I have like 100 customers I'm attending to, and I'm able to do turnover of those sales. And you on the other side, you are selling with a margin of 10 naira, and we have the same 100 quantity to sell. I've sold 500. You are still struggling with your 100. So I've made more margin, even with that small thing that I'm doing, because I'm not greedy. And that's why we keep saying that greedy nature does not last. It will only kill you business-wise. But be sensitive to your environment to give the delivery that is expected of you, and then you definitely grow as a business owner.
Okay, since we are still talking about, before you ask your last question before we go, I know I'm looking at the time. Since we are still talking about fair importation and fair and all of that, in the news we have it that this issue of the price of fuel dropping per barrel from from $88 to about $76.53 is threatening to affect the budget of 2024. Now as it stands. So a lot of people are saying that the budget might not come to place. I want you to just tell us a little bit on that and how you think the government can actually make this thing stabilize so that we have a wonderful
In
budget.
1 minute, sir.
It's a budget and it's a projection. So before now, we've had instances where we have low budgets, on the revenue we are expecting and more. Imagine during the time of Jonathan, where we had a barrel going to over $100, So if we have that, it will definitely impact on our revenue. But the other side is there are two wings to it in accounting, your revenue side and expenditure. So when you are not expecting so much revenue, cut down your expenses. Don't cut your coat according to your size. As big as you are, you might decide to have a cloth with someone like me who is small. So all you need to do, you may not be able to sew up and down. So just have a small jacket and look how you complement it. So you might be having a skimpy cloth because of your size. And while I, that have a small stature, can go ahead and have a focus. So cut your coat according to the measure of the clothes you have, not according to your size. So if you are reducing, because we might still see in the course of the year, reduction in the cost of crude oil price. What that implies is that cut your expenses so that you can meet the yearnings of your people and reduce wastages on all angles.
All right, thank you very much. I actually have a question, but I don't think I'll be able to go ahead with that question.
We'll reserve it for the next time. I promise I'm available.
All right,
Thank you
very much for coming on the program.
Yeah.
All right, viewers, this is the size of what we have for you today. If you have missed any part of this episode, you can watch the repeat broadcast at 10 p.m. and you can also check our social media platform for this episode. All right, do have a wonderful day. Bye for now.